one of the things I've been asking is what went wrong, or what could have been if Kamala Harris loses. I want to show you some of the things that have happened. Number one, there is the early vote fallout. Now, I didn't know this until recently, but on CNN, they were talking about this, about how Kamala Harris, I guess, is behind Joe Biden when it comes to the early votes. Listen to this, you guys.
The math doesn't work. The Democrats are down 1.7 million early votes in the battleground states. In urban areas, they are down 1.4 million votes in the battleground states. Among women voters, rural voters have overperformed early by 300,000. Democrats have to win their races early. Republicans generally win them on election day. And the margins don't add up right now for the Democrats in any of these battleground states. The math.
So what do you think about that, Zeneb? What he's saying, that the Democrats are behind, 1.7 million votes for the early votes?
That's it. What really shocked me, yeah, the 1.7 in rural or suburban areas and 1.4 million in urban areas. That really shook me, because urban areas usually has a higher turnout instead of being lower. Every election year upon election year for early voting has been higher and higher and higher and higher. I think this might be the first election we've seen a dip in that.
And it's go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I think there's a slight delay on my end, so I apologize. That's what this is. So I think that what that might be, hell, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something, and I'm like, you know what? I want to be honest. I don't know what's not bringing people out to early vote. You know, it could be the fact that they're just like we are. They are just sick and tired of having two crap candidates. I mean, Kamala Harris ran with endorsements from Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney left office with 8% approval rating, and she made that the bellwether of her election. The Democratic Party the Democrats always end up running to the right to try to get these moderate voters, because they don't want to tick off their donors and do any kind of positive, less leftist legislation, things like, populist legislation that the majority of people want, things like Medicare for all. Clinton and Obama both ran on that. That's why they won their races. They both lied, but they ran on anti-war. Biden lied, but he ran on a living wage, and he also ran on forgiving student loan debt. Kamala has nothing like that.
Her big thing is she's going to, fix the overturn of Roe v. Wade. But I don't know if that's going to be enough. And for some people, that is alone enough. But there are certain things that are happening that are kind of weird. Like, for example, what just happened in New Hampshire? So for those who are not aware, Dixville Notch, it's a small, very, very small town in New Hampshire. They're known for voting first. I think they vote at midnight, something like that. It's like 6 people. But something weird happened. New Hampshire town of 6 splits first in the nation vote between Harris and Trump. Now, this is weird because this didn't happen before. So you'll see here, it says at midnight, the 6 residents of a tiny township in New Hampshire cast their ballots, with the officials touting their status as the first in the nation to do so. The vote was a tie, reflecting the divisions across the country in what is expected to be one of the tightest races. Now, if you move forward here, what we will see is that 3 of the 6 residents in Dixville Notch voted for Kamala Harris, and the remaining 3 voted for Donald Trump. And then it goes on to say here, apparently in 2020, this was not the case. In 2020, they overwhelmingly supported, it says here, Joe Biden. It says that he swept it in 2020. So this is sounding alarms to people that this, I know it's a small town, but typically it has not gone this way before, where they're split down the middle. And what that means is that some of them that voted for Biden in 2020 have turned around and have voted for Donald Trump this time around. It's just 6 people, you guys. Yeah. 6 people.
And this really says something about the inadequacies and the complacency and the negligence of the Democratic Party to be an oppositional party. Because typically, historically, you do not have somebody run and then loses, and then the incumbent, which Kamala Harris we can kind of look at is sort of the incumbent in a way, and then you have the incumbent who beat that person originally, then turn around and lose. That's very, very rare. So I think that if Kamala wins, and I know you've said this, at the end of the day, the Democratic Party has no one to blame but themselves. They could have ran this race if they had supported an arms embargo, which the majority of Americans support, if they had supported universal health care, if they had supported pre-K childcare, if they had supported a tuition-free college, if they had supported a living wage. I look at her platform, and like you said, she says she's running on Roe v. Wade, but there's no real way to codify that. And she said that in her speeches. She said, Congress has to hand me the bill and I'll sign it on the desk. Well, that's not a proactive stance.
Yeah, we're going to have to look at some of those congressional races too to see how they're doing. And there are other signs too that I want to point to. This one was very
Patino.
Oh, there's something playing. Sorry. This one was very shocking to me because, and a lot of people may not know who this is, but this is Tasha K. She's a celebrity podcaster. Like she interviews like celebrities or whatever. But she, and this was interesting. Whitley Yates shared this. Well-known blogger, Unwind with Tasha, announced that she voted for Donald Trump. And for
wow,
watched like her show, I am totally shocked by that. Totally shocked. And I guess she shared it on Instagram here. And this is what she said. It was extremely hard decision, but after careful consideration and reassertion of the facts, our country is in turmoil. Inflation is crazy, unnecessary use of military power and our tax funds to fund other countries. Trump 2024, again, this is another sign, I've said this before, where more African Americans have been moving over towards Donald Trump compared to those times before. And then there's this, and you guys have got to hear this if you haven't heard it, and I want to get your take on this, Zeneb. This statement here from Joe Scarborough from Morning Joe about those types of voters.
Why are you doing this to me? I'm just kidding.
Everyone listen to this because this comes off as kind of classist to me.
I will ask the question that I think is a fair question to ask. Who raised these people?
Yeah.
Because they were not raised by anybody in my neighborhoods that I grew up, any middle-class neighborhoods that I grew up in. These people were not there. They were not raised. I mean, they weren't in the classes I went to growing up. In elementary or middle or high school or college, they just weren't there. That wasn't the America I grew up in, where people would laugh at the idea of people of press getting shot. Like everybody would like sit around and like, what's he talking about? Or again, the
laughing at the Puerto Rican
other
joke.
things, laughing at the Puerto Rican joke.
My God,
that Puerto Ricans are a pile of trash. Are laughing at a 83-year-old man being bludgeoned nearly to death. That's an applause line. That's a laugh line. Again, who are these people? Where are they coming from? And who raised them? And how did Donald Trump twist their point of view so much in 9 years that the brutalization of an 83-year-old man is something to laugh about, or the shooting of press members is an applause line?
Yeah, laughs and cheers when Trump suggested the press should be shot. And my friend, the legendary photographer at the AP, Evan Vucci, who's traveling with the Trump campaign.
And then they move it on to another subject. But Danny Haifong is here as well, so I want to go ahead and bring Danny in to get his impression about this as well. But first, I want to get your take about this, Zeneb. How do you feel about that comment that he made there? Like, who raised these people?
There's two thoughts. One, I'm Appalachian. That condescension from liberals. This, we call it looking down the nose at us. The condescension from liberals has been unhinged for my entire life. Looking down at us, calling us stupid, calling people stupid. I get what he's saying about Trump's comments being unhinged and crazy. They are. he's right. But the lack of self-reflection as to why people may vote this way kind of leads into my second point I want to make. When he talks about journalists being shot and Trump suggesting that, it is happening right now. Almost 200 journalists killed in Gaza under Biden's watch. Biden criminalizing journalists that are covering Stop Cop City protest. Biden jailing 78 protesters in Atlanta at the Stop Cop City protest on bunk domestic violence charges. Democratic mayors busting heads of protesters all across the country and arresting them. Bipartisan bills trying to pass the House and Senate that would criminalize phrases like from the river to the sea. Things like that are happening now. People's heads are getting busted now. There's police militarization now. There's when he said journalists being killed, that ran all across me because that is happening right now. And Harris is literally running on a campaign of joy. So we want to talk about abhorrent behavior. There's a lot more here to talk about than just rhetoric. Yes, Trump's rhetoric, abhorrent. I can't stand it. Let's talk about actions. And that's what's one of the things that ran all over me. It's a total cognitive dissonance. It made me really angry.
I hear you. Well, welcome, Danny. Danny Haifong is here. Thank you so much for being with us, Danny. What was your take on what Joe Scarborough said there? And do you think that's a problem for the Democratic Party?
Well, first, just let me know if my mic is hot. I'm using a different mic right now. So if do I sound okay?
Yeah.
It's a little low, but
A little low? Okay. Well, I'll try to talk louder then. But I mean, this is what the Democratic Party always does, right? They talk down to anyone, really anyone that doesn't follow them, that doesn't support them, that doesn't just grovel over them. It has become such an interesting development to watch where Democrats, corporate so-called liberal media, they are now the ones who are primarily and principally so interested in policing people's speeches, their votes. They don't feel like they actually have to win anybody over. They feel like if you should just support them because democracy, because Trump is this, because look at these hordes of people who support Donald Trump and what they're going to do if they are energized and they are put into any kind of position of power. It's all fear-mongering, and it really is not effective. In my humblest estimation, Donald Trump actually ran a very poor campaign, I believe, for 2/3 to 3/4 of this entire election campaign. And it seemed like the assumption was that Joe Biden was easily beatable. And Kamala Harris has had everything going for her. And the fact that this is even going to be a close race, I think, demonstrates just how problematic so many people view the Democratic Party. Even in places that are traditionally blue, there is a lot of sentiment. I've been sensing it for months. People I've speak to, my wife's coworkers, people who just always vote Democrat are very unhappy and very much not satisfied with Kamala Harris. So she may win, she may not, but what we're going to see is likely the continuation of this trend where if she does lose, we know who's going to get blamed. It's going to be the deplorables, it's going to be Russia, it's going to be just anyone except the Democratic Party and their elite backers.
There is something that I did want to show you guys about Michigan really quick, because I think this is important. Let me just come up here. The cracks in Wayne County, they were sounding an alarm about this.
So joining me now is our Nightline co-anchor, Juju Chang in Detroit. And Juju, I think the Michigan race is absolutely fascinating. So, right, it's part of this so-called blue wall, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. And you have pointed out, though, that there might be some cracks in that wall, specifically in Michigan. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. There are severe cracks cutting into the core Democratic constituency here in Michigan. And the question is there enough support to hold the blue wall solid? Now, if you look just at Wayne County, you see two constituencies that have been traditionally Democratic that Trump has made inroads on, the first of which is African-American votes. You know, it's crucial in Detroit and Wayne County. In fact, this was solidly Democratic until 2016. Hillary narrowly lost Wayne County by about 10,000 votes because of relatively lower African-American turnout after the Obama administration. Now, that said, there has been a lot of doubling down on the African-American turnout here, but we talked to the Secretary of State's office. They told us that they don't believe that Wayne County turnout is going to even match 2020 numbers, which is not a good sign for the Harris camp. In addition to that, Wayne County also has the largest percentage of Arab American voters, and we talked to so many Arab American voters who say they just can't bring themselves to vote for Harris because they are so upset about the war in Gaza. They say that even knowing that on some level Trump would be even more pro-Israel on the Gaza issue. We talked to one Democrat, lifelong Democrat, who said she was a Bernie supporter. She voted for Biden, but she couldn't bring herself to vote for Harris. She went with Jill Stein, the independent candidate. And that kind of depressed turnout may be what we're seeing in Wayne County, and that is a trouble sign. The question is, can Democrats hold that blue wall?
So this is an interesting point. I want to pass it to you, Danny. There seems to be a problem here in Wayne County for Kamala Harris, and that is we knew about the Arab American vote and the Muslim vote. We knew about that. But I did not know about the African American vote, particularly in Wayne County. So it seems like there seems to be some issues there as well. Obviously, we all know, we've talked about this for so long, it seems like the Gaza issue is a big deal for a lot of voters and a lot of people that have come out. I can't tell you how many people, and Danny, you were one of them, how many people posted on social media that they voted for Jill Stein today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was seeing that too. It was a really, I think, very much a positive thing to see. And what that report you just played demonstrated is something you've been covering, we've known for quite some time, which is that the question of Gaza and the genocide that's happening there and the potential for a much larger war, which has basically already been rolled into motion in West Asia because of the US's undeniable and unflinching support for Israel. We knew that this was going to be a big part of this election. It was hard to say how impactful it would be, but it seems that in these places where there are large portions of Arab American voters, Muslim voters. I remember listening to one of your shows, Sabby, where you mentioned a report where there was, I think it was Joyanne Reed, who was covering something where the poll or the report was lumping Arab Americans, Muslims, like everyone was together, when in fact these are separate constituents, which just so happen to hold actually very much similar views on this issue because of the obvious connections. A lot of Palestinians are Arab and a lot of Palestinians are Muslim. But the fact of the matter is that this other factor, the Black American vote, it seems that Kamala Harris will probably do quite well in that area. But even little cracks, as they're calling them, like in Michigan, could shift the election very much away from Kamala Harris because it's so tight, because everyone is saying it is going to be very razor hair thin, the result. And I am just not surprised by this because you've been covering this, Sabby. You're one of my go-tos on this now that I've mostly shifted to geopolitics. But at the same time, when I just study, even a cursory study of the way Kamala Harris ran her campaign, it was essentially nothing. It was essentially nothing until the very last moment where she came out with a lot of empty, vague promises in the last 2 weeks saying she'll do everything to end the war on Gaza. Nobody believes her. Not only does no one believe her, but she already has left a huge trail of SHIT, which shows that she is not at all sincere about any promise that she would ever make. Her vice presidency has been a big nothing burger. It's literally just been a rubber stamp for endless war, austerity, the worst that this empire has to offer. And she ran her campaign saying she's going to continue that. And I don't know if you've noticed this, Sabby and Zainab, the way she talks about Gaza, even when she claims she cares about the civilians being killed, she is most strongly yelling at the top of her lungs that she's going to free the hostages. And I always say, well, Israel's going to kill all the prisoners of war first before anything like that happens. But the fact that she chooses certain points of emphasis just shows, and I think people can see through this. I mean,
you have to see what she leads with, right?
Yeah,
she
exactly.
Leads with, we support Israel. Remember October 11th, free the hostages.
200,000 Palestinians later killed. Now, I think most people understand that that is just not sincere. So people are going to vote for Kamala Harris because they're going to do that in spite of Gaza. And a lot of people are not going to vote for Kamala Harris because they really do care about this issue, as they should, because no one should feel good about their government arming to the teeth a genocidal entity. They shouldn't feel good about that, and they shouldn't base their voting behavior on that. So a lot of people, and I think we're going to see this throughout the results, a lot of people are going to decide not to vote for her, who you might think would vote for her. Whether that swings the election, I mean, in my estimation, Donald Trump, if he really wanted to win this election, he could have won it a while ago. But, these two parties, they play a certain game. I believe, I'm not a conspiracy theorist in this way necessarily, but I also believe that campaigns and the various elites that support these campaigns and these parties look and calculate as to, well, how are they going to actually portray political legitimacy in this time? And I believe that they wanted a close race. They wanted a close race because that's how you get people to pay attention to this, when actually what's going to come out of this is not going, it really is going to have very little in terms of different results in terms of policies or anything like that. After this election is over, we can expect more of the same, whether it's Kamala Harris or Donald Trump in many respects.
If y'all looked at the betting market this morning, the way that he shot up like that, I was like, uh-oh. Because these
bookies be knowing.
They bet big money on this. That right there let them know. So there must have been something they knew at 7 a.m. this morning that gave them, okay, we need to go in this direction. There must have been something.
So the King James bump didn't change anything? Come on, King James said vote Kamala, guys. Tay-Tay, what happened to Tay-Tay? I saw that Taylor Swift net favorables is like, she's only like +5, which is bad for her. Like she usually like plus 20, 25. And after endorsing Kamala Harris, it actually hurt her for real, which is wild. Yeah, like she went from, and I saw this as on some corporate media segment where they explained how like, Taylor Swift was plus 30, like 25, 30. Now she's only like +5, bro. Like that endorsing Kamala really hurt her. I think the liberal establishment POC class, they underestimate how much young people dislike the two-party duopoly and two-party system, right?
Well, there was this guy here. Like, let's remember, I love what this guy says here. Chuck Modi shared this on Twitter. This part.
Nobody owns my damn vote. The Democratic Party, the Republican Party, any party, they don't own my vote. My vote is my vote. They have to earn my vote. I'm not beholden to anyone. I'm not just going to throw my vote away for Team Blue or Team anything just because it's a team. What are you proposing? The Democratic Party is trying to kick the Green. They sued the Green Party in Nevada, got them kicked off. They try to get the Green Party kicked off in Wisconsin. They try to get the Green Party kicked off in Georgia, and even in this state. So they don't care about democracy. They just care about winning. Because if you care about democracy, let the Green Party flourish. Yeah. If any third party gets 5% of the vote, they get on a number of ballots automatically, without having to raise a ton of money. And they'll get between $10 to $20 million in federal funding, which they can then use that money to build a larger, more vibrant third party.
Do you ever hear that on the news? What do you just say?
Hell no.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had a really good point. About again, they think that they own your vote, which is crazy. Nick, can you imagine how other countries are looking at the US right now? They're like, yo, the US is so fucking embarrassing, dude.
Yeah, and to put this on a global perspective, this is actually following the trend. The Zelensky curse strikes again. So, now we got time to digest this, right? We have another regime that's going to fall because of their, oh, Jesus Christ, man. There's so much analysis, but because of their support of the Zelensky regime, their diehard support for Ukraine. So the messaging that Donald Trump winning will be the end of NATO apparently was not effective. So once again, obviously, it is not revolutionary to think one side is better than another, but there are still takes that we can have. It's great that NATO and the Ukraine band-right thugs is going to lose. You know what I mean? And not a revolutionary take, but it is very satisfying. Very satisfying to see the NATO left had to reconcile with this. But go ahead, Sabby.
Yeah, for you guys, I know not everybody in the chat is on Twitter, but for those of you who are not, you don't understand. Me and Nick have been arguing with these people have been attacking us 24/7 because we wouldn't support their queen. We wouldn't support bathtub greens Kamala Harris. They tried to sell this woman to us. Nick, they tried to sell this woman to us. You know they did. You better thank a union member. They tried to sell this woman to us. Man, what the hell? This is crazy. And then what made it worse was then Obama to come out there and say the problem is you brothers. Hey, this is something about the Obama effect too. This will teach Obama a lesson.
Don't you know she listened to Tupac when she was 12-year-old in the 80s? Sabby, y'all better put respect on Tupac's name. Kamala was jamming to Tupac in the early 80s.
Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.